All right, guys, welcome back. This is episode 2. We're still working things out, so you're getting a 2-for-1 for our first episode. Where we left off was our Heisman top 5 rankings. I'm gonna kick it to Jaden. What do you have for your top 5 for Heisman right now?
All right, I got Bryce Young set at number 1. He's the reigning Heisman. He's arguably the favorite to potentially repeat. I think that could be something that maybe kind of hurts his chances. I mean, we've had what one repeat champion in the entire Heisman history, so
Yeah, ever, yeah.
I don't know if they'd be super willing to give it to him, especially if you got Stetson Bennett going undefeated at Georgia, who's my number 2. So I don't know if they would let him repeat. It would be tough. He'd have to have a really good year, which I mean he's already off to a hot start. And that's why I got him on my number 1. He did have a better game than Stetson Bennett, but Stetson Bennett did play a better team, and that's why I got Stetson Bennett at 2. Number 3, I got Anthony Richardson from Florida. He's looking like a Cam Newton out there, grown ass man playing against looks like a high school team. He's big. He's big boy. I think he's like 245, something like that. He's fast.
He's like Tim Tebow, like damn near.
He's got a good arm on him too. I think he's got a decent shot at it. I mean, if Florida can run a decent year, maybe go undefeated. I mean, they got Kentucky, Tennessee. If they can knock off Georgia and then A&M, and then they got us, Florida State, at the last game of the year. If they go undefeated, he's winning that shit easy.
Oh, absolutely.
Granted, I don't think they will, but he's sitting in my number 3 for that reason. Number 4, I got CJ Stroud. So I like CJ Stroud. He looked a little rattled against Notre Dame. Notre Dame defense was giving him a lot of issues in that first half. They're a really good defense. He had a good game overall. He didn't make a lot of mistakes, and he plays for a great team. They got a good schedule. They got a potential to fucking go undefeated. That's kind of a big thing in the Heisman. You got to go undefeated almost, unless
you got to be a championship contender for sure.
Be a contender or right outside that bubble. But if you're sitting there with one loss going up against Bryce Young, like you're probably not going to win. So I mean he's got a pretty good shot at it. He's got great receivers, so that man should be blowing receiving records out of the water. He's got NFL talent receivers, and it should be no issue for him to skyrocket on passing yards and TDs this year. And then 5, I got Bijan Robertson, I'm pretty sure it's Bijan Robinson from Texas.
Yeah, Bijan, yeah.
The man's a dog.
He's crazy. He's gonna be a first round pick for sure.
He's a dog, absolute unit at running back. He had a pretty good first game. I think he had like 111 all-purpose yards. I think he had like 40 receiving yards and 80 running.
He was barely trying, and he still was doing good.
Yeah, I mean, and to be fair, they got Texas next week, or they got Alabama next week. Not Texas.
It's gonna be a good game. That's another segment I forgot to tell you about.
Yeah, we could talk about
that's gonna be our very last thing. Yeah.
So yeah, I got him sitting at 5. I mean, I don't know how he'll shake out this year, and that's 4 QBs and 1 running back. So I mean, I didn't want to do all QBs in there. I didn't think anybody else kind of deserved to take that 5 spot other than really him. And he was kind of a Heisman favorite going into the year. I definitely think he has a good year. I don't know if it's enough to win him the Heisman though on potentially a non-playoff Texas team. So I mean, I'm assuming you're gonna have similar,
pretty close.
Maybe move it around a little bit, but that's arguably the best 4 QBs in college football right now. I mean, you can make debates for other QBs like Caleb Williams for USC. Utah's QB looked good. I mean, he did have a bad decision there.
That loss hurts him, yeah.
And the loss hurts him. I mean, if Clemson can get their shit together, if Michigan can find a QB, they got a chance for it. I mean, unless a receiver kind of breaks on the scene and just goes nuts, like I don't really see it. Maybe a defensive player coming out of nowhere. I mean, you
There's
got
that kid from Alabama that's Will Anderson. Yeah,
Yeah, I think
he's got a
he
lot
had
of hype behind him.
I think he only had like 5 tackles last week though. So I don't think he really did nothing too crazy in his first game, but they probably didn't play him the whole game to be honest with you. So
Yeah, I would
that's
love
kind
to
of where
see
I'm
a
sitting.
defensive player win it. That'd be amazing.
100%. I always root for non QBs to win the Heisman. I'm honestly I think they need to, before I end my piece on it. I think they need to make the Heisman a different, like they need to make an all QB Heisman type. Oh, they need to figure something out because it's far a QB award other than Devontae Smith with his monster season.
Like Mark Ingram, like a few different guys.
Yeah, or you got Derrick Henry, Adrian Peterson, but those dudes are kind of far and few between, and it's all QBs. Which I mean, I get it. They're the general of the team. They're almost scoring all the points. Like I get it, but come on, there's plenty of all-star defensive players that have great years that deserve something. Like I think they gotta figure something out.
Absolutely. So my top 5 isn't that far different than yours. I got Bryce Young at number 1, 5 touchdowns, 100 rushing yards, rushing touchdown. Number 2, I got CJ Stroud. He didn't necessarily have the best game, but he was playing against a top 5 team. If Notre Dame turns out to not be the real deal, I'll move him down.
Fair.
This is kind of where we defer. I have, and I hate to say it because he betrayed me, but I have Caleb Williams at number 3. he looked as good as he ever has.
Yeah.
Against Rice. We'll see how much he continues that. And then 4 and 5, it's almost like a tie. I got, well, actually, no, I'll make it 6. I'll make it 4 and then a tie at 5. I got Stetson Bennett at 4. He looked He looked really, really good.
They've been demolished Oregon. They've been hung 40. He was the commanding team over a fucking 11th ranked Oregon and hung 46 on them. Granted, Oregon never has defense. Like
my issue with that is the same issue I have with Caleb is like, we'll see how well he does. Like maybe Oregon wasn't what we thought they were going to be. That's kind of my thought process.
I absolutely don't think they are, but I think Stetson Bennett is who we think he is. Like, that man has got heart. Like, from last year, he had JT Daniels ahead of him. Man gets hurt, and then he's battling a fucking freshman QB for reps, and then gets the nod, and then leads Georgia to a national championship and balls out. Like, he's a dog, dude.
I see what you're saying.
He's a.
The one counter I'll say to that is I watched every single snap Caleb played last year. I'm disappointed that he left to USC, but also at the same time, he's a young kid. He is doing what's best for his future. I can't knock on the guy. I'm disappointed he left OU because I think he could have been one of the OU greats. But I got to put him up there. I know what kind of talent he has. But I think at number 5, you won't have too much of a problem with it. I got Bijan Robertson at number 5, tied with Jordan Travis, because Jordan Travis balled out on Sunday.
Absolutely. I'll touch on the who's before Bijan.
That was Stetson.
No, it was who. Fucking goddamn it! The OU quarterback, the transfer.
Caleb. I had him at my number 3.
I would have had him at my number 6. I was looking at his stats, and I think he's gonna have a really good year. And I think it's all dependent on how the team does. And they do have a weak conference. Their schedule is not incredible. Let's take a quick look. Let's see. We got at Stanford. Stanford is not what they used to be. Really, they got two ranked teams on their schedule. They got at Utah, so Utah can, if depending on what Utah team we actually see and whether or not they're fraud or I think they're the real deal. I think Utah's
See,
good.
I disagree with you. I think Utah is a fraud.
No,
That's
I
what
think
I've gotten out of it.
Utah should have won that game. It was one bad decision on the QB, and they could not stop the goddamn running QB. They could not stop Anthony Richardson, which is why he's in the Heisman, one of my spots. I think Utah is the real deal, and then they got Notre Dame at home. That's the last game of the season, so we'll see. But I mean, that's an easily undefeated schedule. There's nobody else on the schedule that is even remotely close to the talent that USC has. So I think Caleb Williams should be in that conversation and will be. But I've only seen him play Rice at USC. And I
How
did
much
watch a
of
lot.
OU did you catch last year with him as starting quarterback?
A decent amount, and he does have a lot of talent. The dude's a baller. I think he's gonna have a really good year. I think he's having a really good year. I think he just needs time to mesh with the Lincoln Riley, him, and the offense as a whole. I think they still need more. They need real game time. And
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
they played Rice. So.
Rice, yeah, absolutely. That's where I think OU just looks better than USC. Just like, granted, they both play
100%.
shitty teams, but
I mean, we'll see next year. They got Stanford on the road. Stanford usually has pretty good defense, so I mean, I think that'll give us a little more insight on Caleb Williams and this USC offense. But yeah, Caleb Williams would be sitting in my 6 spots if we was going to 6. But I mean, we just did 1 to 5, and then Jordan Travis, that man, he balled out. He had that man's got heart.
I can't believe you didn't put him in your top 5. You held
I
back.
wanted I really wanted to but.
You didn't want
honestly,
to seem biased. Is that what it was?
The five people I put ahead of him were just they're better right now. Like he's still like in my mind he's still developing.
Is he in your top 10? Is he in your top 10?
Oh yeah, 100%. Especially if we have a good year, like I think he could crack the top 10. Like I mean, our schedule's not too bad. I mean, it's not easy. I mean, we got a tough fucking schedule this year, but well, I mean, we'll see. We will see. I mean, looking at him last year, if he plays like that, absolutely fucking not. But I think he's a by far new and improved QB. Going in this year, going into last year, like he did not know if he was a starter or not because we had McKenzie Milton still sitting.
He's got that confidence behind him.
So it was like, you're not the guy, you're the guy. Like you're both the guy. Like who's the guy? And this year, it's just him. So like he knows like this is his fucking team, this is his offense. He can run it. I think he's going to he looks a lot more composed going into the year, and you could definitely see it. 100%. Like he really did not make any kind of crazy bad moves. I mean, yeah, he overthrew a lot of deep throws. Like I think like 4 to 5 maybe deep throws. So he needs to work on his long ball a little bit. But
I also think that was a mental thing as opposed to a physical thing. Like I think he just got too excited. Like, oh, I got an open man.
Yeah,
he's not used to having that. Like based off the past,
he's not used to having the time to throw. I think that's another thing. He's used to getting the ball off quick, and LSU has a really good defensive line. They got NFL talent on the defensive line, so like we're not going to be going up against that all year. So he's going to have that time to fucking throw all year. And I think he'll have a really good year. I don't know if he'll win the Heisman, but I think he could potentially crack up into the top 5 if we have a good year.
He could. I mean, it just depends kind of on the way it plays out.
I think we're going to be a running team this year, though. We're not going to put it all on him. We have 3 badass running backs and an improved offensive line. I don't think we're going to be letting him sling it like crazy every year. So that's going to hurt him a little bit.
See, like I agree with you there, but I think because they're going to rely on him in the close moments, he might have some Heisman moments. He's almost like a game manager, but he could have a few like clutch Baker Mayfield moments at the end.
He's
Is
definitely got
kind of where I
that.
see him.
He's got that spark, and he's matured a lot. I think if we can, kind of upset, if we can upset some teams, he's got a shot.
All right, moving on from there. I don't think we're gonna have any disagreement here. Game of the week.
No shot.
That's LSU FSU. What the fuck was that?
It was that was like a game of the century. Like I shared it on Facebook. I thought I said I was like game of the century. Like that game had me all over the place emotionally. Like
You were in tears when you called me.
I had tears in my eyes.
And that was before y'all won.
That second muff punt when we recovered it, and I think we was at like the 6 or the 5 or something like that. I was like, thank God. It's the second muff punt of the game. Our special teams was killing it. I was like, this is easy dub, easy clap. We get it on the fucking 5 or 6. I don't know the exact yard, but it was within the 10. It's almost a walk in. Minimum 3 on the field goal. Minimum 3 points. We're 2 scores away at that point, because I think at that point we was up by a touchdown. And yeah, if we could have got the field goal, we'd have been up by 10. And we move up to the 1 yard line, and I see Mike Norvell called a pretty good game, but that fucking pitch, I don't what are you thinking? What are you thinking on the one? Who pitches it on the 1 yard line? That's not, you don't even do that shit in Madden. You do
I
that.
100% agree with you. You don't take that risk. It's
No,
better to hand it off on the inside. Take the 3 points. Like, yeah, that's not what you wanted, but
no.
it's better than fumbling the fucking ball.
And yeah, I get it. We weren't really doing super well running it up the middle, but if you wanted to pitch it outside, just fucking run it outside. Like, just run it out.
Hand it off, yeah, exactly.
Run it to the outside. Like, or I would have been okay with them throwing it. Like, I would trust him at that point. Like, Jordan Travis has been having a great game. Like, I would trust him throwing it on that portion if that's what they wanted to do. But yeah, a pitch, like, that's risky, and it almost fucking bit us in the ass. And then they drove 98 yards in like a minute and a half. Like it was an incredible drive. I'm not knocking LSU, and like our defense did not show up on that drive, but absolutely incredible drive by LSU. And they deserved to take it in OT, but they did not even deserve to be at that point, because we were handling them very well, and we like I said, we left like 17 points off the board.
Y'all were up what, 24-10 at one point. Y'all dominated most of the game, and then you kind of shit the bed at the end.
It shouldn't have been to that point, and we did have some mistakes, but it's our first big game of the year, and I think if we wouldn't have had that first game against Duquesne, I don't think we'd have won that game.
Yeah. We'll go in more to that in our favorite team kind of section of the podcast. Hopefully we don't get another fucking time limit. But if we do, we'll make a fucking third episode. I don't give a fuck at this point.
Hell yeah. Going
from there, what was your best performance by a single team this week?
Georgia, 100%. It's
we can just move on from that at this point. Like, I'm on the same page as you.
Georgia is like that. That is like, that team is so good. Like, they are like leaps and bounds. Like, it's Alabama and Georgia right now. There's no contest. We might as well skip to the end of the season and play the fucking championship right now. Like, the gap between Alabama and Georgia, between like Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson, A&M, OU, Notre Dame, Baylor, and USC, the rest of the top 10 that they have right now, like, it's none of those teams hold their jockstrap.
You're just betting on an upset at that point. You're just hoping for an upset.
You're hoping like an A&M upset and the SEC, or other than that, like A&M might be the only team that can beat them. Maybe Florida, but it's probably going to be Alabama, Georgia in the SEC championship. Like I said, they're both probably going to be undefeated. And I think Georgia just looks, that team is raw, man. They don't look any different from last year, from what I can tell. Like, I mean, I didn't watch a whole lot of Georgia games, but I watched a couple of the big ones, and they look nasty. That defense
I
is
agree with you.
nasty.
They had a lot of NFL guys that left their team. They seem like they just
It's the
replenished
same.
their
It's the same
they just
team.
replenished their defense with more NFL guys. I mean, from what I can see.
It's the same team. Like it's just
I
different
don't know
names.
why Georgia is like perceived as under Alabama, when in my opinion they're just leaps and bounds better than Alabama.
Honestly,
I might be stretching it, but
I think the thing is like, all right, Georgia has won their first championship since like the 70s, right? It was like 77 or
some 80s, yeah, something like around there,
something
70s,
like that.
80s.
Okay, so they're coming off their first championship in, like 40, 50 years, whatever the fucking number is. And Alabama is still in their dynasty. So like that's why I think that alone is why Alabama sits above them. Like, because Alabama has just rebuilt every year and they have the same team and they do the same work every year and they put work in, they make the playoffs and they almost make the championship every year. Georgia, this is kind of their first time into that, potential. I don't want to say dynasty because I don't know if that's kind of what they got going on.
Yeah.
They might be starting their own, but I mean, they're like, oh, are they going to repeat? No, they're not. They got Stetson Bennett at QBs. He wanted to transfer before the year. They got all these new defensive players. It's kind of a new team. And it's the same thing that Alabama's been doing year in, year out. They win the championship. They lose 12 players of the draft, and then they're ranked number 1 and they repeat.
Alabama's one of those teams you hate to see it, but they're great. I like the same way I know you hate praising Bill Belichick. It's the same way. Like,
I hate Alabama. I
hate him. Like, let's just keep it real. We hate him.
See,
like we respect him, but we hate him.
I'm just tired of seeing the same team there. But I mean, I respect it. I respect what they've built. It's just annoying. Like, there's almost no point in watching college football because like who's gonna win. It's not even really like you're rooting for your team to win like your conference championships. That's at most what you're gonna get.
But your team at the same time, you never know. Like,
exactly.
There's upsets like every week.
Exactly.
Maybe a couple players fucking drank a little too much the night before and they fucking
or they get hurt or they get suspended on a targeting call. Like anything can happen, and I think that's the big appeal for college football. That's the really big appeal. Like, anything can happen compared to like the NFL, where you kind of know who's gonna win.
Absolutely.
Like 85% of the time.
All right, from there we're going on to the most disappointing performance by a team. Who do you got for that?
I already touched on mine with Iowa. I combined them in with my most disappointing player with Iowa's QB. It was they should not even be that close to South. I think it was South Dakota State. I already can't even remember the team. It should not happen. That is a Power 5 Big Ten team that should not be winning by 4 points. Like, I don't care. I don't care if it's fucking snowing. Like, you're a Big Ten team. You got Big Ten recruits. Like, what are you like? That's like an FCS team. I get, yeah, a big Power 5 teams lose to FCS teams. Like, it happens. Like, I mean, we lost a fucking FCS team last year. Like, I get it, but it was 7-3. It should not happen. You fucking QB, like I said, QBR 1.1. Like, that is abysmal. You might as well sit him. Yeah, bring the goddamn freshman up. Like, what? Like 1.1. Like, you could almost slot like any QB out of college into that team, and it probably would have did better. Like, I didn't watch the game, but I just can't get over that. Like 7-3. Like, I just can't shake it.
That's a terrible performance.
I get they won, but it was all around bad.
I'll be honest, that's not a game I was particularly paying attention to. But since you brought it to my attention during this podcast, I'm like, holy shit! Like,
see, I didn't even watch the game. Like, it was, I don't think it was televised, but like, I was like kind of looking through the games. Like, I'd watched, like a decent bit of the college football games this weekend, and like nothing I could see that was even close to that was even in that realm of being bad. Other than, like West Virginia and Old Dominion, like that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Or not West Virginia, Virginia Tech, sorry.
Virginia Tech, yeah. West Virginia, I don't know if you caught that game, which this is
That
like
game was
completely
phenomenal.
Like a fucking what's it called? We're going off topic a little bit, but
See,
West
that would have been
Virginia
my
Pittsburgh that was my second. Yeah, I agree with that.
second,
My second favorite
game.
Like Slovis, that kid at QB for fucking Pittsburgh, he was fired up. I don't know if he saw like the pregame hype. He said, fuck West Virginia, like at the fucking pep rally. I was like, I fuck with that. And I don't know if he kept up with the whole USC shit in the offseason. So Slovis was the backup for USC behind Jackson Dart, who ended up going to Ole Miss.
Okay.
Caleb Williams transfers to USC. They both transferred. And he ends up at West Virginia.
To be fair.
He's fired up. Like,
I would be too.
Or he goes to Pittsburgh. I think I said West Virginia. But
yeah, so all I knew like going into the game was there was a lot of like weirdness between the QBs and the coaches. There was like a lot of connections between West Virginia Pitt and other teams, like where they kind of rotated around. So like there was a lot of like not normal rivalry shit going on, and there's the backyard brawl. They're like I think 70 miles from each other, and they had played the rivalry in like 11 years.
back in the Big East days when that was still
a conference. So it was like 11 years. They haven't played each other in 11 years, and with all that weird carousel coaching mix, so it was a fantastic game, and with West Virginia lost it at like the last second, like that throw. He barely missed it on like the 1 or 2 yard line. It was damn close. It was damn close. And to be fair, I was rooting for Pitt, and I like to root for the ACC teams.
See, I was rooting for West Virginia.
I don't know. I root for see. My theory is
like, I'm Big 12, so I get where you're coming from.
So like going into the year, I'm rooting for ACC teams to get high. So when FSU comes, we potentially play them. We have a better resume. But here lately, since like fucking 2015, it doesn't matter. But now it kind of matters for us. Like we kind of want Pitt because we might play them in the ACC championship. And I just like Pitt. Pitt's a rootable team. Like
I fucked with them since last year with Kenny Pickett. Like I thought they're a pretty interesting team, and the Slovis guy, he's got heart. He's a gunslinger. Like he's got it going for him. I hope they do well. We'll see. Transitioning from there, where did we leave off? Because we kind of went off on a tangent.
It was on.
Are we on the bus this morning?
Okay. Yeah. We're moving on our favorite team talk.
Favorite team talk. Okay. Yeah, mine's gonna be a little bit quicker than yours because your game was so
shit.
fucking crazy. But I was happy as an OU fan. And before we get this started, I don't know how many people are gonna be watching this podcast. Probably not a whole lot since it's our first episode. A lot of y'all are gonna be wondering if you knew me back in the day. You were a UCLA fan. Why are you got fucking OU shit on? Well, let me just explain that and just get this out of the way. I was born and raised as an OU fan. Here we go again. You're going to get 3 episodes. Like, I don't give a fuck. I was born and raised as an OU fan. I went through kind of a rebellious stage where I just fucking hated where I was from. I'm from Oklahoma. Jaden's from Oklahoma. I went through a stage where I just fucking hated Oklahoma. I didn't like anything about the state. So I rooted for UCLA. That was always my second favorite team growing up. And to be fair, I still fuck with UCLA heavily. With Lincoln Riley going to USC, that's just like increased how much I like UCLA. But what it came down to was me kind of maturing, growing a love for where I've came from. And also at the same time, like I could drive down to an OU game any weekend. I can't do that for UCLA. Like I'm going to the OU K-State game in 2 weeks. I can't do that for UCLA.
Okay, State.
But yeah, that's where I am with OU. I still love UCLA. Don't get me wrong, but as far as OU goes, I thought we fucking kicked ass. Brent Venables came in. He he strengthened the defense right off the bat. We came out with a lot of energy. Um, the offense looked balanced, looks great. The running game looks better than it has in years. Lincoln Riley's a very pass heavily guy. We came in with Jeff Levy. He set a tone with the running game. Eric Gray, I don't know if you know much about him. He's gained, I think, it's not a lot, but it's like 15 pounds. It's like solid muscle. He's running strong. We have Marcus Major, who I covered when I was covering high school ball on the radio back at Tonkawa. He whooped the fuck out of Tonkawa here in Oklahoma. I think it was 63-0. I've been covering him since high school. I've been following him for a minute. He scored 2 touchdowns. There's not a lot to say about it. It was against UTEP. Next to who got Kent State. There won't be a lot to say about that unless we just get upset. But we got about 7 minutes left on this episode, so we'll kick it back to Jaden. Before we get started on what your thoughts were on the Florida State game, you're from Oklahoma. Kind of explain to everybody how you became a Florida State fan growing up in Oklahoma.
Yeah. So my cousin Patrick, this is from what I was told. I was pretty young, so I not 100% on the facts, but he lived in Tallahassee, Florida. I'm not sure how long. I was told he moved back to Oklahoma, and he got my dad rooting for FSU. I think I don't know if this was before I was born or when I was just a wee little lad, but I got my dad rooting for him. And then growing up, my dad's rooting for FSU. If your dad's rooting for a football team and that's all you're watching growing up, that's really kind of what you're kind of ingrained into. And yeah, I think I was born in '96, and so I think by the time I could remember watching football, I was probably like 6. So what is that? 01. That's probably right after our national championship lost to OU.
Yeah.
And we were still good in the early 2000s. I mean, we weren't great, but we was still having decent seasons. And just watching the Florida State teams with my dad in the early 2000s, and then we did have some bad years. Nothing like we've had recently, but and then watching Bobby Bowden coach, and it's one of the GOATs. So that's just it's just kind of ingrained into me this love for FSU football and the FSU college. And I even watch other FSU sports. The women's soccer team is dominant. The women's FSU softball team is pretty dominant. I just love the college. I love the culture, and it's fucking awesome. And that's just kind of where I started watching FSU football, and then kind of as I was able to grow up and kind of get a mind of my own and watch teams. I was kind of like, I had a friend growing up, and he was a Penn State fan. So for a while, I kind of was like, "Oh, Penn State's cool. They got a cool mascot." And like I think a year or two, I was like, "Yeah, Penn State." And then I was like,
"They're raping boys."
Yeah, I was like, "Yeah, fuck Penn State. Yeah, it's Florida State. What do you mean?" I was like, "What the fuck am I thinking?" And pretty much the majority of my life, I've been rooting for FSU, and right after a team wins a championship, people are like, "Oh, you're a bandwagon fan." Like, I did get a lot of that in 2013 after we won our championship, but it's you don't fucking know me. Like, come on.
I know a lot of people probably thought you're a bandwagoner after that Jameis Winston run.
That was a fantastic run, but
I knew you from day one when I was a fan of Landry Jones in OU. You were rooting for FSU from the day I met you. So anybody that tries to call you a bandwagoner, they're fucking lying. Like they don't know you like that.
I'll cash app you 20. You got my back.
Like, this man has been the fucking biggest FSU fan that I know. Not that I know a lot of FSU fans, but it was Christian Ponder was the quarterback when I first met you. OU actually played FSU. We fucked you up. He was.
I think we got EJ Manuel after that, though, right? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we got.
Yeah, he went to. He was the first quarterback taken that next draft by the Buffalo Bills. He was pretty solid backup.
We had EJ Manuel for a little bit, and yeah, it's.
Then Jameis Winston went in. He almost convinced me to be an FSU fan because I kind of just got more into the Patriots NFL stuff. I didn't really care about college football. I was like,
FSU is basically cool. It's basically his third team. You know,
yeah,
every big FSU game, I got him on the line, and he's almost invested as me.
He might fucking hate OU, but I fuck with FSU pretty fucking heavy.
See, I don't hate OU. I would rather root for OSU. That's my thing.
Yeah, see, a lot of y'all won't get this if you're not from Oklahoma, but like if you're from Oklahoma, you either like OU or you like OSU. It's a pretty intense rivalry. It gets really heated at certain points, like friendship ending at certain points. Like it's pretty intense. Luckily, we both just sit on the other side of the aisle.
It's not that intense. You know, OU wins like every year. So, I mean, it's kind of like.
OSU won last year, and you can ask my girlfriend. I was fucking heated. I was throwing shit. I damn near in tears. That was a shot.
I feel that. I mean, I don't know. OSU had a good year. They had a good team last year, but you know, they couldn't do it.
And you know, since we covered a lot of the FSU game, we've pretty much covered all of our topics for this week.
We might as well end it. We'll start another episode. We can just sweep up, you know, kind of random shit. I would like to talk about Jacksonville State a minute.
Ooh, Deion Sanders' son. Did you see that?
Yeah. We gotta talk about it. We'll just end the in this video here. Let's just run it back. I want to touch on it. They look nice.
I can see them moving to D1. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know how that shit works. And I'm drunk and I don't fucking know. So fuck you if you expect me to know more. But they fucking look fucking good.
All right, yeah. Just end the episode and then you know, we'll pick it up on a third one. Still gonna be a full one, but you know, we'll touch on some random shit.
Yeah, we'll pick back up next week. Jade, me and you I'll call you on the cell phone. We'll discuss like our plans for next week. It was a little rocky, sure, but I think we had a good time. I had a good time.
Yeah, that was great.
We might change platforms. We probably will.
100%. This 140-minute time is not the move.
But if you stuck with us this long, if you jumped into episode 2, I appreciate it. Let us know in the comments what you thought of our thoughts. We'll definitely interact with you. And we'll just take it from there. We'll be happy to see you guys next week. You might be seeing us more talking about other things, but as far as college football, next week will be the thing. So we're gonna end it here, and Jaden, I'll talk to you in just a minute.
All right, don't see you guys next week. FSU team. Peace.
Yep.